Hello everyone, welcome to the next game in the 1987 Strat-O-Matic Super Advanced American League full playthrough. Just finished recording Seattle and Oakland, and now we're moving on to Chicago and Toronto from Comiskey Park in Chicago. Jim Fragosi's White Sox against Jimmy Williams' Blue Jays. Blue Jays enter the game 11-4. White Sox, after a hot start, have cooled down. They're now 8-5. Starting pitchers, Rich 280Z Dotson for the White Sox. He's 2-0 with an ERA of 0.40. Incredible stats early on for Dotson. Joe Johnson is 0-2, but he's got an ERA of an even 2, so he's pitched well, just hasn't gotten run support. Ballpark effects for Comiskey Park: singles 1-9 for both lefties and righties. Home runs 1-4, both lefties and righties. Pitcher-catcher hold: Dotson's a -5, Fisk is a 0, so it's a -5. Joe Johnson is a 0, and so is Ernie Witt, so that translates to a 0 as well. So I think we're just about ready to go. I got as close as Chicago White Sox colored dice as I could get, and I think we're just about ready to go. I'll give you the full stats on Dotson. 2-0 with a 0.40 earned run average, 23 innings pitched, 12 hits, 9 walks, and 11 strikeouts. So really a nice outing. He was 11-12 in real world, but he's definitely pitching above his skis at the moment. Tony Fernandez, the switch hitter, will lead off for Toronto. Let's go through the lineups. Fernandez, Mullenix, Mosby, Bell, Barfield, Upshaw, Witt, McGriff, and Sharpers in for Toronto. Reedus, Hill, Walker, Hassey, Fisk, Calderon, Boston, Hewlett, and Guillen for the White Sox. So we are just about ready to go. Do one final check. I got the game up on the computer all set to go. Didn't mention the wild pitch and balk rating. Dotson is a wild pitch of 5, balk of 0. Johnson's a wild pitch of 9, balk of 0. So I think that pretty much, let's bring this over just a smidgen so we can fit these corners in. I think that will do it. Check the focus one more time. Might have to lower the lights. It might be too bright. So let's see if that helps. That might help a little bit. Possibly. We'll go with it. See what we got. So Tony Fernandez will lead it off for the Jays. He's hitting .338. No homers, 3 runs driven in. We got a 112 for Fernandez, and he's going to strike out plus an injury, so it's possible that Tony Fernandez might have to leave the game very, very early as he strikes out and pulls something. Felt something pull on his side, so he's going to have to figure out if he can stay in the game or not. Has to roll a 1-4 on the D20. That's the only way he's going to stay in the game, is on a 1-4. He cannot shake it off. He has to leave the ball game. So right away, Blue Jays are going to be down a starter, as Tony Fernandez will have to leave, and they're going to have to figure out who their other shortstop's going to be. The only other guy I can see on the team that's rated at shortstop is Rance Mullenix, and he is a terrible 4E48, but that's what they're going to have to do. So he's a 4E48, so we switch him to an E48 as a shortstop, and they'll bring in a new third baseman, Kelly Gruber. So Gruber will come on to play third base in the bottom of the first, actually. So Mullenix will take over in the leadoff spot, and Gruber will come on to play third base. So interesting development early. As the Blue Jays will have to figure out about Tony Fernandez. He should be all right to come back next game. Rance Mullenix will step to the plate. He was the third baseman. Now he's the shortstop. So Mullenix is hitting .429. No homers, 5 driven in. 5-11, and that's a ballpark single check, a 1-9, but that's a 10. So that will fail. That will fail and be a line out to second base. So that's 2 down, and that's going to bring us to Lloyd Mosby, center fielder. Mosby hitting .297, 2 homers, 16 driven in. 2-6 for Mosby, struck him out. So Dotson continues his hot ways. Takes care of the Blue Jays in order 1, 2, 3. We go to the bottom of the first. It is Toronto nothing, and the White Sox coming to bat. And on the mound is Joe Johnson. He is 0-2, but his ERA is an even 2. 18 innings pitched, 13 hits, 3 walks, 7 strikeouts. And Johnson will be facing Gary Ritas, not into temptation. He will lead things off. Left fielder hitting .358, 1 homer and 6 runs driven in. 3-5, and for Ritas, that's a walk. Leadoff walk to Gary Ritas. And he will be looking to get the lead. To get the lead, he needs a 2 through 6. 2 through 6 gets in the lead. He cannot get the lead, so he will hold. And that'll bring up second baseman Donnie Hill. He's a B bunter, but I think they're going to have him swing away. He's also a hit and run B. Boy, he could hit and run here. Although that's not a strategy I really prefer. Earl Weaver used to call it the worst strategy in baseball was a hit and run, because 3 things can happen with a hit and run. 2 of them are bad. So they're going to go ahead and have Donnie Hill swing away. It's a 4-10. Switch hitter batting left-handed is a line out to first base. That's out number 1. And holding it first is Ritas. Here's Greg Walker. Walker hitting only .143. Home run and 7 driven in. Johnson 5-5 to the lefty. 1-4 is a triple. That's a 12. It'll be a double to center field. Mosby does have a 0 arm. Ritas is a 17. He was being held, makes him a 16. 1-16. Do they throw through, or do they try to get him at the plate? If you throw through, Walker would take third. So I think they're going to allow Ritas to score and cut the throw. With only 1 out, they don't want their runner getting to third base. So it's going to be an RBI double. RBI double for Greg Walker, and the White Sox take a 1-0 lead. So Hassey is up. Ron Hassey, the designated hitter and backup catcher. He's hitting .226, 1 homer and 3 driven in. 3-5, and that is a pop out to third, fielded by the new third baseman, Kelly Gruber, for out number 2. That'll bring up Carlton Fisk, Pudge, the catcher. And Pudge is hitting .282, no homers, 4 driven in. Nothing on the havoc. Johnson trying to minimize damage. 6-6, and he will not. 1-7 is a double. That is a 3. It will be a double for Carlton Fisk. That's going to be 2-0 White Sox. So a clutch bat for Carlton Fisk, and he comes through with a double, making it 2-0 Sox. And they got Joe Johnson on the ropes. Here is Ivan Calderon. He's hitting .378, 3 homers, 10 driven in. For Calderon, is off to a hot start. 3-9, and this time he grounds to short for not Fernandez, but Mullenix is there to make the play. But the White Sox put 2 on the board. 2 are on the board. In fact, I need to fix the defense for Toronto, so I make sure that Fernandez is out of there. And Gruber gets the third base call, with Mullenix going to short, so that we know Mullenix gets credit for this assist. So, ground ball to short, but it's not going to be Fernandez. It's going to be Mullenix making that play and throwing to first for the out to end the inning. We go to the second, 2-0 Sox. Dotson back out. We're facing George Bell, Jesse Barfield, And Willie Upshaw for the Blue Jays. And George Bell is hitting 300 even. He's 20. Is he 20 out of 60? 20 out of 60, I guess it is. Hitting 300, although I thought that was 333. I don't have it off the top of my head what he's hitting, so let me check something here real quick. Let's see what we got here. Well, he does have 5 doubles, 2 triples, 5 home runs, and 19 runs batted in. George Bell hitting 300. 4-9, and that's off of Dotson. That's a walk. So a leadoff walk to Bell, who will not be held. And Jesse Barfield, the batter, right fielder. Barfield is hitting 328. 3 homers, 17 driven in. 3-8, and that's another walk. So back-to-back walks issued by Dotson. Boy, they gave him a 2-run lead, and now he's put the first 2 guys on for Willie Upshaw. He's got 3 left-handed hitters to deal with coming up. Upshaw is hitting 207. No homers, 4 driven in. So 211, that's a line out to first base. He lines it hard, but right to Walker. And everybody's got to freeze right where they are. 1 down, and that's going to bring up the catcher, Ernie Witt. Witt is hitting 267, 1 homer, and 6 driven in. Nothing on the havoc. 3-4 for Witt. Ground ball pitcher A. That's going to be a 1-6-3 double play, and Dotson pitches out of the mess. How do you like that? 1 to 6 to 3 to get him out of the inning. Nothing doing for the Jays. Dotson pitches out of it. We go to the bottom of the second. Still 2-0 Pale Hose. Johnson out. We'll face Darrell Please Come to Boston. And Boston is hitting 297. 2 homers, 5 driven in. 111, and that's a ground ball to third for the new third baseman, Gruber. I guess he's not new anymore. He's been in there for over an inning now, so you can't really call him new. There's 1 away for Tim Hewlett-Packard. Third baseman, he's hitting a .152, 1 homer and 4 driven in. 4-12, and that's a fly to left. George Bell will put it away. 2 down. For the number 9 hitter, Ozzie Guillen. Guillen is hitting .327, a homer and 6 driven in. 4-4, that's a ballpark single check, and it's 1-9. That's a 17, though. So it will be a line out to second base to end the inning. So 1, 2, 3 go the Sox in the second. We go to the third. It is Chicago 2, Toronto 0. Dotson back out. We'll be facing McGriff, Sharperson, and now Gruber. Make a note here. This is Gruber. So Fernandez is out of the game. And Gruber's number at third, let me write his in. He's a 3E24. 3E24 for Gruber. In fact, might be better if I do it this way. And just totally put Gruber in here. Because with Fernandez not in the game, it looks a little confusing. And Mullenix is at short. So hopefully that's better now. Hopefully. We can hope. As the saying goes, there's always hope, right? All right, so Fred McGriff, the designated hitter, will lead off for Toronto. And he's hitting .212, 3 homers, 5 runs batted in for Mr. McGriff, Crime Dog. 2-7, and he's going to draw a leadoff walk. That's the third walk issued by Dotson. McGriff will not be held. Sharperson is your batter, number 9 hitter. He is hitting .229, no homers, 5 driven in. for Sharperson. 3-8, and that's another walk. So 4 walks in the last 2 innings by Dotson. This is the way the second inning began, and Dotson got out of it, but how many times can you keep playing with fire? Here's Kelly Gruber, the new third baseman, and Gruber is hitting .385, 3 homers and 5 runs batted in. Dotson can use either a strikeout or a double play ball. 1-7, he gets the strikeout, so that's part 1 of what he needed. 1 away, now double play will get him out of the inning. And here's Mullenix. Mullenix line to second his first time up. That's a 1. So the wild pitch rating for Dotson is a 5. 1 to 5, he tosses a wild pitch. He does. And that's big. That'll force them to bring the infield in, because that's going to move the runners up. And the tying runs are now in scoring position with only 1 out. So the infield is in. The infield is in. Dotson to Mullenix. 4-11. That's a fly ball left field X. Left fielder is Reedus. He's a 3. This could get deep enough to be a sac fly. We shall see. 3-19, though, it may not be. That's going to be borderline. 3-19 for a outfielder is an F3, so that means the runners cannot advance unless he makes an error. His error rating's an E8, so he's got to avoid 3, 6, and then 15 through 18. And he does. So it's a nice play by Reedus, but just wasn't quite deep enough by Mullenix, who went the opposite way, but not deep enough to score McGriff. And the runners have to hold. And Dotson 1 out away from getting out of the mess again. He's got to get Lloyd Mosby. Mosby struck out his first time. 2-5, and he grounds to second, but nobody was being held, so the plus sign is irrelevant. And that's going to end the inning. Plus, that's only in advanced anyway. Infield in, it would have been relevant, but you know, obviously we're not doing that because the infield was back with 2 outs. So it's a ground out to second base to end the inning, and Mr. Dotson does it again, otherwise known as Houdini. So nothing doing there. We go to the bottom of the third, still 2-0. Johnson back out. Will be facing top of the order, Gary Reedus, followed by Hill and Walker. 4-8, and that's a 1-4 single, but that's a 19, so he lines it to short. 1 away. Reedus retired. Here is Hill. He lined out to Upshaw at first base, his first trip. 3-8, and this time he's going to ground it to third for Gruber. 2 down for Greg Walker, who doubled his first time up. He had an RBI double for Walker. Actually, no, it wasn't an RBI. He doubled when the runner went to third, so it was not an RBI double, just a regular double. But he did double and score. Fisk had the 2-run double. 4-5, left-handed, pops it up to first base. Upshaw is there, and that's going to do it for the Sox here in the third. They go meekly. At the end of 3, it's still 2-0, favor of the Pale Hose. And since this is my second game in a row, after every 3 innings, I think I'm going to stretch, especially since I skipped the 7th inning stretch in the first game. I didn't remember to do it, so I definitely want to take advantage of that now where my back's going to feel it, and also get a sip of juice so that we can keep going here. Make sure everything's still in play. Looks like it is. Double check it just to be sure. Freshen it up. All right, George Bell will lead it off. He walked his first time up. 4-5, and he's going to pop it up to third baseman Tim Hewlett for out number 1. Bell is out of there. Here's Barfield. And for Barfield, he walked his first time up as well. 3-8, and he's going to walk again. So, boy, that's the 5th walk issued by Dotson. How many times can you live dangerously on the edge putting these base runners on? Here is Upshaw. Upshaw lined to first in his first trip to the plate. 2-5. He's going to fly it to right field. That is out number 2. Hauled in by Calderon. 2 down. For Ernie Witt. Witt into a double play his first time up. Can't do it now because there's already 2 outs. But see what he can do instead. 5-11. It's a ballpark single check. 1-9. That's a 15 though, so he will line it to second. And that's going to be snagged by Donnie Hill to end the inning. So nothing doing for the Jays. We go to the bottom of the 4th. That 2-0 score is still holding up. And designated hitter Ron Hassey will lead it off. 1-7 for Hassey. He grounds it to first, and taking to the bag himself will be Upshaw. Easy play, 1 away. Here's Pudge Fisk. He had the 2-run double his first time up. Actually, it was an RBI double. Walker did drive in Ritas the first time. I forgot about that. The 3 there says that he drove him in. So Walker had the RBI double, and then Fisk had an RBI double as well. Okay, so I stand corrected on that. 2-10, and that's going to be a fly to center field. 2 away. 2 up and 2 down for Calderon. Calderon grounded to short his first trip. 2-5, and he's going to ground to short, where Mullenix takes care of it to end the inning. So in case you're catching the video late or whatever, or skipping through or whatever, Tony Fernandez struck out and got injured to lead off the game. So Mullenix had to go from third to short, and Gruber had to come in and play third. So now we go to the top of the 5th. It'll be McGriff, Sharperson, and Gruber due up against 280Z Dotson, who has walked 5 in this game so far. 1-7, that's a strikeout. So he puts the K on McGriff. That is the 4th strikeout. So he's had 5 walks and 4 strikeouts. Here's Sharperson. 3-7, and that's another strikeout. So now he's got 5 walks and 5 strikeouts. Pitching more like Nolan Ryan with all those walks and strikeouts. And here's Gruber. He struck out in his only at bat. 1-9. He's going to fly to center, and that's another 1-2-3 inning for Dotson. So we go to the bottom of the 5th, still 2-0. And this is the fatigue inning for Joe Johnson. His point of weakness can begin here in the 5th. Dotson can pitch 7 meanwhile. So here's Darryl Boston. He grounded to Mr. Gruber his first time up. 4-8, and it's ground ball to second, so this time Sharperson handles it. 1 away. And since that first inning, it's kind of been a stalemate. Here's Tim Hewlett. Flew to George Bell and left in his first at bat. 4-6, and he's going to hit a single to left this time, so Bell will field it, but he'll field it on a hop. It's a 1-out single by Hewlett, who will not be held. And here's Ozzie Guillen. Guillen, first time up, he lined to second. 3-11 for Guillen. That's a ballpark single check, but that's a 19, so he's going to line it to second again. Again, Sharperson snags it. 2 down. And we're back to the top of the order for Gary Ritas. He's walked and lined to short. Also scored a run. 4-7, and that's a single to center field for Gary Ritas. Hewlett will stop at second base as he does not run well. Even with 2 outs and not being held, he just does not run well. So he'll stop at second. With 2 outs now, here's Donnie Hill. .37 for Hill. That's a line out to first base, and that's going to end the inning. So the score still remains 2-0 through 5 innings. And Joe Johnson has 2 dings against his point of weakness, so they got to keep an eye on that. Maybe the bullpen might start to see some action as we head to the 6th. They do have a lot of bullpen arms they can go to, so a couple lefties and a bunch of righties. So it looks like with the lefties coming up for the Sox, we may very well see John Cerruti coming into the game, or Jeff Musselman. We'll see who has the most fatigue, or who has the least fatigue. Maybe that's a better way to put it. Or Johnson could come back out. You never know. I mean, he's still not fully fatigued yet. He still has some endurance remaining, so anything can happen. Top of the 6th, it's Rance Mullenix. He's 0 for 2. Line to second and flew to left. 4-6, and that's a strikeout. He's not tired, so the strikeout is good. Strikeout number 6 for Dotson to go with his 5 walks. And here's Lloyd Mosby. 1-8 for Mosby, and that's a 1-15 home run. That's a 3. It is long, and it is gone. And not only is the shutout broken up, but so is the no-hitter. No-hitter and shutout are gone in one fell swoop. Look at it again, 1-8, a 1-15, and that's a 3, so it is gone. Lloyd Mosby cranks one, cuts the lead in half at 2-1 for Mosby. That's his home run number 3, RBI number 17 on the season. So home run Mosby breaks up the no-hitter as well, and that brings up George Bell. 2-1 ball game. Toronto trying to sneak back into this. 3-7, and that's a ground ball to short. Guillen handles it, 2 down. Dotson trying to get by with just the 1 run allowed. That home run now has caused his ERA to skyrocket to 0.64 now. All right, here's Barfield. 4-7, and that's a ground ball second base X. That's Donnie Hill. He's a 4. 4-15, I do believe he will get to that. And he does. It's a G2, so he gets to that. And his errors in E11, so he's got to avoid 15, 17, and 18, which he does. So good play for Donnie Hill. That will end the inning. But the run has been scored on the home run from Lloyd Mosby. We go to the bottom of the 6th. It's 2-1. And while we decide on whether Joe Johnson's going to pitch anymore, I'm going to take a short break. All right, we are back, and we have a new pitcher for Toronto. It is going to be left-hander Jeff Musselman. He's going to come in place of Joe Johnson. Joe Johnson went 5 innings, gave up 4 hits, 2 runs they were earned, 1 walk, and no strikeouts. And unless Toronto can rally, he is on the hook to go 0-3, despite pitching fairly well. Musselman, numbers for him, he's 0-0 with 1 save. His ERA is 9, though. He's gone 5 innings, given up 5 runs, obviously, 4 hits, 3 walks, and 6 strikeouts. But he's in there in a lefty-lefty matchup with Greg Walker. So we'll see what he does with that. Walker has doubled and popped to first, 1 for 2. It's a 5-7 for Musselman. Ground ball second base X. That's Sharperson. He's a 4. See if he can get to this. 4-4, he does not. That's a base hit. 4-4 is a single. E23, he's got to avoid 11 and 17. And he does not. That's an 11, so that's going to be an error. So it's going to be a single plus an error. So Walker will single, and Sharperson threw it away to get Walker to second base now with nobody out. So that's not exactly how Toronto drew that up. A single plus the error on Sharperson. So all of a sudden, runner at second, not being held, but nobody out. And here's DH Ron Hassey. He's going to step to the plate. Hassey is 0 for 2. 5-8, and that's a strikeout. He's now 0 for 3. And that will take it over to Carlton Fisk, the right-hander. Fisk had that big double, RBI double in the first, then flew out in the fourth. 5-11, and that's a ballpark single check. 1-9, that's a 6. It will be a single. It's going to put runners at the corners. Now you wonder if they might go get Musselman and bring in the right-hander because you got Calderon, a tough righty coming up. But you do have a lefty Boston after that. Boy, tough call here by the manager. That's why they get paid the big bucks. Jimmy Williams got to try to figure it out, what he wants to do. Column 1 is loaded for Calderon. Boy, he's gonna make a call to bullpen. He's got to play the percentages. So that's it for Musselman. Some of this was not his doing, but he goes a third of an inning, gives up 2 hits, does have a strikeout. No runs, but he's responsible for both runners on base. And now we're looking at Mark Foghorn Eichhorn to come in and try to get out of this mess. The tough right-hander, Mark Eichhorn. And we look at Eichhorn's numbers on the replay so far. And he is 0-0 with 1 save and a 3.09 earned run average. 12 innings pitched, 15 hits, 3 walks, and 8 strikeouts. But he is usually tougher on right-handers, so we'll see. His hold, though, is a +9, so that's going to make him a +5. Should the White Sox at some point try to steal. But they won't do it right now. Runners at the corners, and Fisk obviously not going to try to steal. Infield back for the double play, or are they going to be in? They are going to be back for the double play. 4-7, and that's a ground ball, second base X. Nobody's being helped, but Sharperson's a 4. That's going to make it tough. 4 and a 10, that could be problems. 4 and a 10 is a G3, so the runners are going to advance. The run's going to score. But at least he'll get to it. E23 again, he's got to avoid that 11 and 17 roll. He does that, but the run will score. Fisk will take second, and that run's going to score on the RBI ground out. Sharperson not able to get to it enough to turn 2. So the run's going to score, and it's 3-1. That run is charged to Musselman. And now here comes Darryl Boston. 1, so Eichhorn might uncork a wild pitch. His wild pitch rating is a 5. Balk rating a 3. That is a 5, so he does uncork the wild pitch, and that will put the runners to third base. So Eichhorn trying to get out of this mess. Clutch situation for Boston against right-handers. He loses a single in 2 spots, so anti-clutch for sure. That's a 3-4. He's going to ground it back to Eichhorn to end the inning. But the White Sox do score the run. And we go to the 7th. It's 3-1 Chicago over Toronto. This will be Dotson's point of weakness inning. Top of the 7th. He'll be facing Upshaw, Witt, and McGriff, 3 lefties. One 7, and that's a strikeout. So Upshaw is out. It'll bring up Ernie Witt. 6-5 to the lefty is a fly ball to right. Put away by Calderon, 2 down. And that's going to send us to the crime dog, Fred McGriff. McGriff 0 for 1 with a walk and a strikeout. 5-6, and that's a ground ball to second. Donnie Hill all over it. And that's going to end the inning. So we're at the 7th inning stretch. Score still Chicago 3 and Toronto 1. And I will stretch for a brief moment. Mark Eichhorn will come back out to pitch. He'll be facing Hewlett and then Guillen and Reedus here in the bottom of the 7th of a 3-1 game. Time for me to get some more juice. Wet the whistle. And see if we're still showing everything. It looks like we might have to raise this up just a hair to make sure everything fits. So let's do that. Looks like the edges now fit, best I can tell. So we're ready now. It was a brief 7th inning stretch. We are ready for the bottom of the 7th. Eichhorn facing Hewlett. And Hewlett is 1 for 2 with a single. 5-5 for Eichhorn. 1 is a triple, anything else is a single. So that's a leadoff single for Mr. Hewlett. He will not be helped. Guillen is up. Guillen's an A bunter. He's going to bunt. Corners are in, makes him a B as they see him flashing the signs. The bunt is going to be bunted towards, I believe, Eichhorn. No, 5, it goes to the first baseman, so it goes to Upshaw. And as a B bunter, he just basically needs an 8 or 9 or less, really. That's an 11, though. That's a 1 and 2, so we've got a 1-ball, 2-strike count. So we're going to redo it and see if it goes to somebody else. This time it goes to the pitcher, Eichhorn. That's a 10, and that's a pop-up. So he pops it up to Eichhorn, and the runners will have to hold. So he pops it right up to Eichhorn on a failed bunt. 1 away. So even though he was a good bunter, he just couldn't get it done. And here's Gary Reedus. Hewlett, of course, not being held at first base. 3-10 for Reedus. That's a single to center. And Hewlett runs at a 13, not being held as a 14. So 1-14, he could make it. They could force Toronto to try to throw him out and then let Reedus take second base on the overthrow. Wow, 1-14. I think they're going to send him to third base. They're going to send him to third. Toronto will hold Reedus, so they're going to concede the base. So runners at the corners. Reedus now with a chance to get a lead 2 through 6. He does not, so he will hold. And now here's Donnie Hill. Runners at the corners and 1 out. Infield is looking for the double play. They are back for the double play. 3-3 for Hill, and that's trouble. It's not going to be a double play. 1-19 is a home run. That is long, and that is gone. A 3-run home run for Donnie Hill. You don't think of Hill being a home run hitter, but he did one right there, and we'll look at it again on the replay. To blow this thing wide open. That's going to be it for Eichhorn. He is done. Let's look at it again. 3-3 for Donnie Hill. A 1-19 is a home run. 20 is a triple. That's a 10. So Donnie Hill hits his second home run of the season, and he picks up 3 more runs batted in to give him 6 on the season. And that's going to make it a 6-1 game, White Sox, as they have blown this thing open. And John Cerruti will come in and pitch for Toronto, the left-hander, as the Toronto bullpen has fallen on hard times. So Eichhorn is done. And we can close the book on Eichhorn as well. Eichhorn is going to go 1 inning total. 3 hits and 3 earned runs. Cerruti gave up the 1 run as well when he was there. No walks, no strikeouts. And now Cerruti is on to face the lefties Walker and Hassey. But now the damage done, 6-1. Toronto just looking to try to get out of here and play for the next day, basically. So Cerruti is on. He is 1-0 with an ERA of an even 2. In 9 innings of pitching, he's given up 8 hits, 2 runs, 1 walk, and 8 strikeouts. So Cerruti will face Greg Walker. And we might get a pinch hitter for Hassey. It might bring in a right-hander just to give him that bat. 4-10. That's a fly ball. Center field X. That's Mosby. He's a 1, so you know he's going to get to it. He's an E7. And as an E7, he has to avoid 3, 4, 15, 17, and 18. And he does. So Mosby makes the play for out number 2. And now Hassey is going to be called back, and the White Sox will bring on a pinch hitter, right-handed pinch hitter, to take over as the designated hitter. And it will be actually a switch hitter. It'll be Jerry Hairston will come on and get an at-bat, and he will take over as the DH. So Jerry Hairston will take over for Hassey. And if they need a backup catcher, Karkovice is still in the bench as well. So they're not, by having the catcher, one of their catchers DH, it did not hurt them. So Hairston is on, and he is 0 for 1 on the season, so he definitely could use an at-bat to try to keep sharp against Cerruti. 6'10", switch hitter batting right-handed is a ground ball third base X. That's Gruber, and Gruber is a 3E24. 3-12, he'll get to that. 3-12 actually turns out to be a G2. And he's an E24, so he's got to avoid 3, 9, 12, 15, and 18. And that is a 12, so that'll be an error. That will be an error on Gruber, E5. That 12 is sitting right there like a sore thumb. It's an E5. That's the second error of the game on the Blue Jays. 1 on Sharperson and now 1 on Gruber. Keeps the inning going for Carlton Fisk. 6-1 Sox here in the bottom of the 7th. 3-run homer from Hill has blown it open. 4-7. 1-4 is a double. That's a 17, so he will fly to right to end the inning. But a 3 spot there for the White Sox, courtesy of Donnie Hill's 3-run home run, makes it 6-1 after 7. And now Dotson, with that big lead, he's going to stay out there. He has no marks against his point of weakness. He's got full endurance showing up, so he will stay out there. The Blue Jays will go to the bench and replace Sharperson with a pinch hitter, and they'll have Garth Orge come in and play second base, but Rick Leach is going to pinch hit for Sharperson. So Leach will pinch hit for Sharperson. And then Orge will take over at second base in the 8th inning, where he is a 4E13. So he'll be a 4E13 going forward. Right now, Rick Leach is going to get an at-bat for the Blue Jays. They try to get something going against Dotson. Leach on the replay is 2 for 8. He's at 250 even. No homers or runs batted in. He has walked twice. 2-5, and he's going to ground it to third, where Hewlett will take it and throw to first for 1 away. So Leach is done, and like I said, Orge will take over at second base in the bottom of the 8th. Here's Kelly Gruber. 2-7 for Gruber. He's going to strike out. That's 2 away for Rance Mullenix. 3-5 from Mullenix, and that's a walk. And that'll take us to Lloyd Mosby. He has accounted for the only Toronto run of the game with the home run. See what he does here against Dotson. See if Dotson pitches him a little differently. 4-4. Ground ball third base X, that's Hewlett. He's a 4. 4 and a 5 is trouble. That is a single 1 star, so the runner's going to advance to second base. Hewlett's error is an E22. He's got to avoid 12 through 18, except for 13 and 17. So he basically needs a low number. That's a 15, and he is an E22 on a 15, and that's a 2-base error. So it's going to be a single and a 2-base error. So a single and a 2-base error, that will score Mullenix all the way from first, and that will send Mosby to third on the E5. So rough times there for Hewlett. The run scores. Dotson not too happy about it. It's now 6-2 with a runner at third and 2 outs for George Bell. Four, 6, and it's a ground ball to second to end the inning. Something didn't do right here. Hold on, let me go back and fix this play on the computer because it didn't. I had it as a stolen base plus an error, not a single plus an error. That's what was throwing me off there. So let's fix this again. Got to going too fast there, I guess. Single plus an error. That's what I wanted. Now we got it straight. And then a ground ball to second to end the inning. So the Blue Jays get a run. It is unearned. Cuts the lead to 6-2. That might be it for Dotson. He goes 8 innings. And I think they'll cap him at the 8-inning mark. So Rudy is going to go 1 inning. I think they're going to take him out as well. He actually went 2/3 of an inning. Gave up nothing. But they will bring a right-hander into the game. Some administrative duties, first of all. We need a second baseman, so Garth Orge will take over at second since Leach pinch hit for Sharperson. That's the first order of business. Next order of business is to bring in a new pitcher, and it's going to be Jose Nunez. He'll get an inning of work in. Nunez is 0-0 with an ERA of 13.50. 5 innings pitched, 9 hits, 6 walks, and 5 strikeouts. But when you're down 6-2 in the late innings, this is the time you bring in a guy like Jose Nunez. Certainly don't want to bring in Tom Hinkie or Dwayne Ward, so they're going to go with Jose Nunez just to try to eke out 1 inning out of him. And we'll get the numbers on Dotson. They were very good, obviously. Rich Dotson's going to go 8 innings. Going to give up 2 hits, 2 runs, only 1 of which were earned, 6 walks and 8 strikeouts. So the only thing really troublesome for him was the 6 walks, but he kind of pitched around them. So Nunez will be on to face Calderon, Boston, and Hewlett here in the bottom of the 8th of a 6-2 ball game. It's not a safe situation for the White Sox, so not sure who they're going to bring in to pitch the 9th, but we'll figure it out. Nunez to Calderon, 4-8, and that's a strikeout. So Calderon out of there. Here's Darryl Boston. 4-8, left-handed is another strikeout. So Nunez coming in, strikes out the first 2 he faces. And here's Timmy Hewlett, who's 2 for 3. Although he did have an error the last inning, top of the inning. 3-9 against the right-hander. He's going to ground it to short, and that's going to end the inning. So Nunez will go 1 inning and give up nothing, striking out 2. So we go to the 9th, last chance for Toronto. They trail it 6-2, and we'll see who the pitcher is going to be for Chicago, who they might want to turn to for 1 inning of work. Coming up for the Jays, scheduled Barfield, Upshaw, Witt, and McGriff. A lot of left-handers. But I think they're just going to go... Boy, who do they want to go with here? Let me check the bullpen, see what if anybody needs rest or if everyone is rested. Let's see. I don't see anybody that's tired in the bullpen. So I think they're all accountable that can come in. Who's got the least amount of work on their plate? I think just not to mess around, they're going to bring in Bob the Car Please James. He will come on and hit and pitch. Bob James. So James will come on to try to wrap things up. It's not a save situation. He kind of split closer duties with Bobby Thigpen, so it's kind of a tag team there. So, but he has the most rest of anybody. He hasn't pitched as much as anyone else has pitched out of those guys, so he will come in and pitch the 9th inning with a 6-2 lead. Going to face Barfield, Upshaw, and Witt. On the replay for James, he's 0-1 with 2 saves, but his ERA is 11.12. 6 innings pitched, 12 hits, 2 walks, 3 strikeouts. So they need him to kind of get himself straight. So giving him a 4-run lead to come into and not a pressure situation is probably a good idea. So Bob James it is. +2 hold, but I don't think that really matters. I don't think Toronto's going to be running down 6-2. All right, James to Barfield. 4-9, and that's a line out to second base. Snagged by Donnie Hill. 1 down. And the Sox with the win can gain ground on Oakland. They would be 9-5 and gain a game on Oakland, who just lost the previous game with Seattle. So here's Upshaw. 111, that's ground ball to second. So if you're watching these out of order, I can't help that. Just gave a spoiler away if you're watching it out of order. If you're watching them in the order I upload them, then you'll have already known that Seattle beat Oakland. All right, here's Ernie Witt, last chance for the Blue Jays. 1-6, and he's going to walk. So Ernie Witt draws the 2-out walk to keep the game going for Fred McGriff, with Garth Orge on deck. 3-7 for McGriff, and he's a 1-17 double. That's a 14. That'll be a double for Fred McGriff. It goes to center field. Will the run score? Witt only runs at a 10. Not being held is 11. 2 outs makes him a 13. Center fielder is a -1 is a 12. So they're not going to send him down by 4. They're going to hold him there. So runners are at second and third. And Garth Orge is your batter, but they're going to call back Garth Orge. They're going to bring in Cecil Fielder to pinch hit, and they'll worry about defense. If they get to that, they'll be so happy they won't worry about defense. They'll probably put Cecil Fielder at second base. They just want to get there. So they're going to turn to the biggest, baddest guy they have on the bench, and that is Cecil Fielder. So Fielder will do the pinch hitting for Garth Orge. Against Bob James. So Orge being called back, and Cecil Fielder coming on. Fielder on the replay is hitting .500. He's 8 for 16 with 5 home runs and 12 runs batted in, so you better believe they're going to use him. Cecil Fielder, Bob James. 1 long ball in this game gets very interesting. 3-9, but that's a strikeout for Fielder. 3-9's a strikeout, and the ball game is over. Ball game is over. Garth Orge on a 3-9 would have lined to short. So it really didn't matter one way or the other. The game was going to be over. But the Sox win it by the score of 6-2. And we'll get the totals in the game. Winning pitcher Rich Dotson, he improves to 3-0 with the win. James goes 1 inning, gives up a hit and a walk, gets a strikeout, nothing else. Losing pitcher was Joe Johnson. He drops to 0-3, although he deserved a better fate, obviously. For the Sox, 6 runs, 9 hits, and 1 error. For the Blue Jays, 2 runs, 3 hits, and 2 errors. Sox proved to 9-5. Toronto drops to 11-5. Left on base, Blue Jays 7, White Sox 5. Home runs in the game, Lloyd Mosby his 3rd and Donnie Hill his 2nd for the White Sox. So there you go. That game is in the books. White Sox win it by the score of 6-2. And now in the standings, the most up-to-date standings, Chicago now pulls to within 2.5 games of Oakland, who just lost their game with Seattle. So they're only 1 game back in the loss column and 2.5 back overall. Toronto, with the loss, though, drops 2.5 behind Milwaukee, as Milwaukee, I believe, has not played yet on this date. Or are they off this date? Oh, they already played. We already did that. Milwaukee already beat Baltimore. That was the first game I played. So Milwaukee wins, Toronto loses, so Milwaukee increases their division lead to now 2.5 games over the Blue Jays. So that's going to do it from here. Hope you enjoyed that presentation of Strat-O-Matic Super Advanced 1987 style. Till next time, enjoy playing whatever game you choose to play, however you choose to play it, and I will see you all down the road.